This is our news, the weekend edition, and on the broadcast tonight.
How do you remain adaptable? How do you be flexible in terms of what you are prepared to do?
As unemployment numbers are expected to increase in the wake of Hurricane Dorian, a financial expert is encouraging the workforce to become more adaptable. Plus, the National Security Minister states the latest on government's position on the legalization of marijuana. And it's jollification time.
It's a good start to the Christmas season. It gets you in the festive spirit.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, I'm Andrew Knowles, and thanks so much for joining us. The impact of Hurricane Dorian has imposed huge fiscal costs on the Minnis administration to the tune of $500 million over the next 2 weeks. Unemployment is also set to increase. Well, one leading accountant is weighing in on how those affected can bounce back after the storm. Our Gillian Gray reports.
In the wake of Hurricane Dorian, the unemployment rate is expected to increase significantly. CFO of Fidelity, Gowan Bowe, said one way to combat that is for the workforce to become more adaptable and willing to accept jobs that may not be in their specific skill set.
Certain, I'm going to say, goods and service output may not be restored in its immediacy, but there are going to be other elements that may be in need. And so this is about saying to persons, how do you remain adaptable? How do you be flexible in terms of what you are prepared to do? This is not the time to be saying, well, I don't do that type of work. Because the reality is you may be very handsomely paid for doing demolition work or for doing debris removal, because that is what is principally needed.
Before Hurricane Dorian, the unemployment rate stood at 9%. Financial Secretary Marlon Johnson predicted it would jump to 13.5%. An IDB report predicted a decrease in salaries of $51.3 million. Both said if a proper plan is put in place, that number could be less.
When we start talking about what the impact on the economy would be, if we allow what I'm going to say the negative prognostic to set our mindsets, then it will have a negative impact. If we use that, if you will, as I'm going to say an encouragement to say that we need to reduce this, so that when we do a post-mortem a year from now, that actually the decrease in salaries was actually half of what they projected, because we were able to redeploy persons in areas that would make sense.
Bowe added that the part-time positions at boutique resorts on other islands could give impacted residents some much-needed help. He added that if persons are redeployed to other islands, it could give those islands' economy a boost.
If we are successful in saying to them that the Bahamas is open, it's just 2 locations that are somewhat diminished, but if you come in the same numbers, it means boosts in other islands. And so our greatest outcome would be that our tourism numbers stay flat, because people still come, it's just not in the same island distribution as it would have been before. But it means that people need to be deployed in those areas. If other island economies pick up because of that, then you need resources to be deployed in those ones. So this actually highlights where we have to be very mindful of the skills gap.
Reporting for Our News Weekend, I'm Gillian Gray.
Well, many of the keys off the mainland of Abaco are facing an enormous struggle in the wake of Hurricane Dorian. Set off from the mainland, they present a unique set of challenges ranging from logistics in getting supplies to manpower shortages. Our Jerome Sawyer reports.
Hopetown on Elbow Key and its iconic lighthouse are world-renowned. But these days, this once thriving community, known for its scenery and picturesque landscape, is a hurricane recovery zone. Everywhere you look, there is destruction. There is massive erosion from the storm surge. Homes are without roofs, and boats litter the landscape. Despite the destruction all around, couples like Chris and Holly Thompson are among the many residents committed to rebuilding.
We've been hard at it. We've been getting a lot of outside donations and some help, and We're slowly getting organized on the ground, but the big thing that we really need is, of course, debris removal and some temporary power that would really lift the spirits of the people.
We're pretty blessed here in Hopetown, you know. I mean, you look around at all the debris and the mass and the looks like chaos, but in the month that I've been here, it looks 80% better to me.
As with so many other communities, there is now a new reality for the people who live here. The Hopetown Harbor Lodge, famous for its cuisine and exquisite accommodations, is all but in ruin from the heavy storm surge and wind damage of Dorian. Pharrell Duncombe is a chef at Hopetown Lodge.
Surviving, we gotta thank the Americans a lot because they done a lot for Hopetown. Because I think if it wasn't for them and you'd just sit around and wait, I think you'd probably have been dead. Because like, I'm volunteering at the sailing club and we serve about, I don't know, maybe 600 food meals a day.
Help has also come from residents in nearby Spanish Wells like Stefan Newbold.
I mean, the look on people's faces was just like, it was like they saw a ghost. You know, they weren't saw nobody, only helicopters flying over. But I got a lot of family. They're actually close friends, but I recognize them as family. And we came down for 12 days, helped out.
Hopetown provides just a glimpse into the struggles faced by many in the Abaco Keys. The residents, second homeowners, and friends of the community are on their own in some cases. With so many critical issues on the mainland, these keys can easily become the forgotten communities. Just one more problem to add to the growing list of challenges left by Hurricane Dorian. Reporting for our news, I'm Jerome Sawyer.
Since Dorian, agencies like the Red Cross are committed to daily distributions at their headquarters on John F. Kennedy Drive. They've also had to significantly increase the amount of aid and funds to the people who are still in need of assistance, even now almost 3 months after the storm. Director General Caroline Turnquest explains.
We have been on the ground since day one, of course, and we have this operation has caused us to expand our services. We have gone from just being a relief of food, water, and non-perishables, etc., to anything from psychosocial support to protection of gender identity. We are looking now at case management in terms of handling persons instead of them just coming in for assistance. We now are looking at, over a period of time, ensuring that their well-being is met. And they may say that they may need a food voucher, but we look beyond that. They may need to speak with someone about their mental well-being. They may need some housing relief. And so we've expanded. This hurricane has really caused us to step up our game, and we are grateful in that sense because the International Federation of Red Cross is here with us. We have a team, what we call the Emergency Response Unit, that are put together from persons, expertise all around the world that are here working with us. We have some 60 plus persons on the ground assisting us here in New Providence, in Grand Bahama, and in Abaco.
And despite the huge demands on the local Red Cross, Turnquest says the response from the public has been generous and shared how they've managed to keep the day-to-day programs going well while still addressing the new realities of the storm.
The outpouring of donations has been very, very good, not only locally but internationally. And so we have the funding to do it, and we're grateful because what we do is we keep separate the funds that comes in for a disaster from our daily operational expenses. And so yes, you'll still see us doing fundraisers for the ball, for the fair, etc. That's to take care of our expenses in terms of our utilities, in terms of keeping the door open, in terms of funding the Meals on Wheels program and the CPR program. However, the funds received for Hurricane Dorian will go specifically to the helping of those individuals.
Though government had hoped to have Marsh Harbors International Airport open for international flights by now, civil aviation officials say the airport is still not up to international standards. They added that perimeter fencing is a major requirement for getting the green light from the National Transportation Safety Board and the International Civil Aviation Organization.
Works are continuing, and hopefully we will be able to meet our deadline to have the airport fully operational for international flights once the national and international regulators come in and certify that it is acceptable to their standard.
Bahamas Striping got the contract and has erected 40% of fencing.
We commenced the project about 7 days ago. We're about 40% complete. In terms of ramping up, we're bringing in an additional crew. We have a number of installers that are part of the team that are locals. We've hired a number of local Avaconians that were here on the island that have experience with fence installation.
There's over 23,000 feet of fencing to be done, and so far we've done about 40% of that. We're hoping that this work will be completed by the 1st of December.
In addition to fencing, the airport also needs proper signage and mold remediation in the terminal. Well, still ahead tonight, is government leaning towards legalizing marijuana? And the event of the holiday season is underway. Those stories and more coming up when our news, the Weekend Edition, returns.